After bearing a son for Pei Yan, I felt my life was complete. In my sleep, I faintly overheard a conversation between Pei Yan and the steward. "Your lordship, the child has been buried. But since it is your offspring, is what we did truly right? Song Yao's child is illegitimate, unworthy of being my heir. Only the child born to Qingran is a true heir of the Pei family. Now take Qingran's child to Song Yao's bedside and claim it as her newborn. Once the child grows up and inherits Song Yao's vast fortune, then let him reunite with Qingran. It's a pity for Qingran and the child to be separated. It's all Song Yao's fault for refusing to let Qingran marry into our family." I clenched my teeth, coldness and pain tearing at my heart, yet offered a gentle smile to the child the steward carried in. "This child shall be named Yaozhu." Years later, the spoiled and arrogant Pei Yaozhu stormed into me, fuming, "Mother. Father keeps a mistress named Lu Qingran. Shall I take men to beat her to death?" I nodded with a smile, my face brimming with emotion. "My son is so filial." When steward's son entered carrying the child, he met my piercing gaze. Feeling somewhat uneasy, he offered flattering words. "Congratulations, madam. Congratulations on the birth of your young master." The Marquis is overjoyed. He donated 1,000 taels of silver to Baogua Temple to pray for the young master's blessings. How deeply he cherishes this child. Hearing the steward's words, Pei Yan followed him inside. His face etched with tenderness, he sat beside my bed, took my hand, and remained as gentle as ever. "Yaoer, we won't have any more children. This one is enough for us. Seeing you endure such pain in childbirth broke my heart." Had I not overheard his conversation with the steward moments ago, I would surely be moved to tears now. But I knew the truth. It wasn't that he didn't want children, but that he didn't want children with me. He especially didn't want me to bear his own offspring, for the vast fortune my father left behind was meant for my child. Suppressing a wave of nausea, I withdrew my hand without showing it. "Very well, my lord. As you wish." Seeing my consent, a flicker of excitement danced in Pei Yan's eyes, though he concealed it well. "Yaoer, rest well. I've had nourishing tonics prepared for you. I'll feed you myself shortly." With that, he hurriedly left my courtyard with the steward. Gazing at the enemy's child lying beside me, still swaddled, sleeping peacefully, rage churned within me. Right now, I could strangle this child with a single hand, yet I cradled him gently instead. "Pei Yan, Lu Qingran, since you delivered this child to me, whether he recognizes you in the future is no longer up to you. Pei Yan and I met during a heroic rescue. He was the Marquis of Ho, while I was merely the daughter of a merchant. Though my father was an imperial supplier, our social standings were mismatched. Yet he claimed love at first sight. Renowned for his talents, Pei Yan showered me with tender care, and I soon fell deeply for him, determined to marry him. As my father's only daughter, he opposed the match, warning that Pei Yan was cunning and that marrying into the Marquis's household would be like entering a den of wolves. Blinded by love, I fought my father for a long time. Pei Yan swore solemnly that he would be devoted to me alone and never take a concubine. Only then did my father consent to the marriage. After entering the Marquis's residence, I discovered it was severely in debt, all show and no substance. For Pei Yan's sake, I used my dowry silver to cover the deficit. When my father learned of this, he flew into a rage at Pei Yan, convinced the man was deceitful and had married me solely for my wealth. Because of this, my father made a will stipulating that after his passing, the vast fortune of the Song family would only be handed over to me and Pei Yan's biological son once he came of age. With solemn earnestness, he told me, "Yaoer, I do this for your sake. Pei Yan cannot be trusted. When you bear a child, raise him well, he will be your true strength. This will also restrain Pei Yan, ensuring your lifelong peace." Back then, I couldn't understand my father, thinking he was worrying needlessly. Now I want to slap myself for not heeding his words, allowing my own flesh and blood to be brutally murdered by that heartless, treacherous man, Pei Yan. Pei Yaozhu's full-month celebration was lavish. At the banquet, Pei Yan declared before all the guests, "Childbirth is like walking through the gates of hell." Out of love for me, he decided that after Pei Yaozhu's birth, I would bear no more children. Ladies and noblewomen at the banquet cast envious glances my way. Everyone praised Pei Yan's profound devotion to me, declaring me the happiest woman in the capital. Yet there were also those who disliked me, whispering bitter remarks. Lord Pei simply dotes too much on Song Yao. She's merely a merchant's daughter, yet she's grown arrogant from his favor. She won't let Lord Pei take concubines or bear him more children, truly shameless. I hear Song Yao is terribly jealous, not even a maid attends Lord Pei now. I'll wait to see her downfall. Sooner or later, Lord Pei will tire of her and cast her out. Holding Pei Yaoshu in my arms amidst the crowd, I seemed oblivious to these barbs, smiling tenderly and affectionately, as if truly a woman of bliss. Yet a chill crept through my heart. With just one sentence, Pei Yan had utterly ruined my reputation throughout the capital. Even if he later seized my vast fortune and cast me out, people would likely say I got what I deserved, that he'd finally reached his limit. The day after the full moon banquet, Pei Yan brought a woman home. "My lady, this is the wet nurse I've found for Yao Zhu. Nursing him is arduous work. Having a wet nurse will lighten your burden." Pei Yan wore an expression of concern for my well-being. Holding Pei Yaozu in my arms, I stared at the lovely woman standing before me, my hands clenching unconsciously. I recognized her. She was Pei Yan's childhood sweetheart, Lu Qingran. "What is your name? Why have you come to serve as wet nurse in the Marquis's household?" I suppressed my anger and spoke in a flat tone. Lu Qingran offered a faint smile. "This servant is Lu Qingran. I came to serve as wet nurse because after I gave birth, my child died immediately. His body was covered in bruises, a pitiful death. He was born of lowly stock, without even a coffin for burial." Her lips curled upward. That faint smile turned into a mocking sneer as she stared at me, her eyes carrying a subtle, almost imperceptible challenge. I knew she was referring to my poor child. Thinking of the torment he endured before his death, my heart felt as though it were being crushed by an iron fist, the pain so intense it left me gasping for breath. Pei Yan chimed in with a laugh from the side. "Miss Lu is pitiful. Taking her in would be an act of kindness and virtue for our Yao Zhu. Lu Qingran is pitiful, but is my child not pitiful?" In that instant, a thought struck me: abandon everything and die alongside this adulterous couple. But I knew I couldn't. The entire Marquis mansion was filled with Pei Yan's men. I had no way to strike down my enemies directly. I had to proceed slowly. I turned to Lu Qingran. "You may stay in the mansion, but Yao Su is the only child of the Marquis and me. I cannot entrust his care to an outsider. Therefore, you must sell yourself into servitude. Only with your indenture contract will I feel secure letting you care for Yao Zhu." Before I could finish, Lu Qingran cut me off. "No." Pei Yan glared at me, his face darkening. "Yaoer, how can you force someone into slavery? That's utterly cruel." Lu Qingran stared at me with fury, her eyes brimming with humiliation that threatened to overwhelm me. Unmoved, I held Pei Yaoshu close and met Lu Qingran's gaze with cold detachment. "Song Yao, don't push it too far. Miss Lu came to care for your child, and now you're forcing her into slavery? This is utterly ungrateful and despicable." Pei Yan's face darkened, his emotions boiling over. Clearly, he couldn't bear seeing the woman he cherished humiliated. In that moment, he forgot to hide his false facade, his words spilling out without restraint. But the words had barely left his mouth when he snapped back to his senses, hastily adding, "Yaoer, I only say this for the sake of your reputation." He even adopted a deeply affectionate expression as he spoke. I cut him off immediately. "Then she can choose to leave. It's not like I'm begging her to stay and care for Yao Zhu." With that, I turned to leave, cradling the child. Allowing Lu Qingran and the Pei Yanxiang family to reunite right before my eyes wasn't impossible, but it would come at a price. Lu Qingran gazed at Pei Yaozu in my arms with reluctance before finally nodding. "Fine. I agree." I turned back to face them, one wearing a look of grievance, the other brimming with heartache. These two had become utterly shameless. An hour later, Lu Qingran signed the indenture contract and moved into the west wing of my courtyard. Pei Yan eagerly carried Pei Yaoshu over to Lu Qingran for her to care for, claiming it was so I could rest properly. Still the same false facade as always. I stood by the west wing window, peering through the cracks at the scene of their family reunion. Lu Qingran cradled Pei Yaoshu, nestled in Pei Yan's embrace, weeping in a way that was both pitiful and alluring. "Pei Lang, for you and our child, I've sold myself into slavery. You must never betray me." Pei Yan looked utterly heartbroken. Qingran, I will never betray you in this lifetime. Seeing you suffer tears my heart apart. Bear with it a little longer. Once our Yaoshu grows up and inherits our vast fortune, I will divorce Song Yao. Then I'll make Song Yao your foot-washing maid, so you can vent your anger. Lu Qingran smiled blissfully. I ask for nothing more than to be with you, my beloved Pei. Pei Yan smiled too. Now our family of three is finally reunited. With you by his side as Yao Zhu grows up, your bond as mother and son unbreakable, he'll heed only your words. With Yao Zhu in our hands, she won't dare defy us. The Song family's legacy, built over generations, is now ours to claim. Now that you've entered the Marquis' mansion, though as a sold slave, your husband will ensure you revel in luxury. Shark's fin for rinsing your mouth, abalone to whet your appetite. Tomorrow I'll teach Song Yao a lesson for you. Consider it interest on your debt. My dear Pei, you're so good at coaxing me. Their triumphant, reckless laughter echoed through the chamber. I watched coldly, laugh now. Soon, you won't be laughing at all. Early the next morning, as I ate breakfast, Pei Yan entered the door chatting and laughing with Lu Qingran. Pei Yan looked utterly satisfied, while Lu Qingran, radiant with happiness, clung to Pei Yaozhu. Truly, they were a perfectly matched family. I said nothing, eating my porridge slowly and deliberately. Pei Yan, however, strode swiftly to my side, snatched the bowl from my hands, and slammed it hard onto the table. Fury etched across his face, he pointed at me and roared, Song Yao, you still have the nerve to eat breakfast? You've run this Marquis' household into utter chaos. If I hadn't risen early to check on Yaozhu today, I'd never have known how viciously you've mistreated Qingran. Though publicly scolded by Pei Yan, I felt no anger. Suiyan beside me couldn't contain herself. She stepped forward to explain, but I pulled her back. Then I calmly observed Pei Yan, his face flushed with fury, and Lu Qingran, wearing a smug, triumphant expression. Husband, I don't understand your words. How have I mistreated Lu Qingran? And is Lu Qingran, a mere servant, even worthy of my mistreatment? Pei Yan looked thoroughly displeased. Song Yao, why must you speak so harshly? Qingran has worked tirelessly caring for Yaozhu. Even if she hasn't earned any merit, she certainly deserves recognition for her hard work. Yet you still make things difficult for her, serving her a bowl of chicken-flavored congee made with chicken broth to fool her. There wasn't a trace of bird's nest or shark's fin to be seen. Qingran has just given birth and is in desperate need of nourishment, yet she still has to help you raise Yaozhu. Is this how you repay her? It's a shame Qingran just offended you, saying you're too exhausted managing the household affairs, that it was the servant's fault, not yours. But seeing you so leisurely enjoying breakfast, you don't look the least bit overworked. You just can't bear to part with that bird's nest, shark's fin, and wild ginseng. You can't bear to treat Yaozhu well. One accusation after another landed squarely on me. Beside us, Lu Qingran tugged at Pei Yan's sleeve. Your lordship, please calm down. The mistress surely didn't mean any harm. It's all because of my lowly origins, she continued. I'm unworthy of such delicacies. Her gesture was intimate, her gaze toward me laced with defiance, utterly oblivious to the servants standing nearby. Pei Yan, touched, patted Lu Qingran's hand. Then he turned to me, his words carrying a clear implication. It seems you, the mistress of this Marquis' household, are lacking in energy. Perhaps you should find someone to share the burden. It suddenly dawned on me. This early morning provocation meant she couldn't wait to seize control of the household management. I replied with a light chuckle, my lord, you misunderstand. Everything I prepared for Miss Qingran meets the exact standards for wet nurses serving imperial princes and princesses. They seemed taken aback by my calm composure, not expecting such a response. Lu Qingran was the first to recover. She curled her lip. Mistress, don't deceive the servant. Though I'm but a commoner ignorant of imperial matters, how could the royal court provide mere plain rice porridge for the wet nurses of princes and princesses? If you wish to shirk responsibility, you shouldn't mock the imperial family. Should the palace learn of this, the Marquis will gain nothing. Pei Yan also snapped angrily, Song Yao, how have you become so unreasonable? I merely spoke to you a couple of times, and now you're spouting nonsense. Are you trying to bring ruin upon everyone in our Marquis' household? I'd say you've truly lost your mind after childbirth. Pei Yan spoke loudly, utterly disregarding my dignity. Sui Yan grew anxious. Your lordship, you misunderstand the lady. She prepared nourishing meals for Lu Qingran long ago, all foods that promote lactation. Pei Yan frowned, clearly displeased that Sui Yan dared to contradict him. I stepped forward, shielding Sui Yan behind me. Early this morning, I invited Imperial Physician Chen from the Imperial Medical Bureau to prescribe some lactation-promoting soups and decoctions. I also prepared meals according to his medical instructions. Physician Chen has personally gone to oversee things and should be finished by now. My lord, perhaps you should wait a little longer. No sooner had I spoken than Physician Chen entered, accompanied by a maid. The maid carried a tray holding 2 large bowls, steam rising from them. Physician Chen smiled upon seeing me. Madam, these are pig's trotters stewed with wild ginseng, most nourishing for lactation. Pei Yan was forced to suppress his anger. Physician Chen served the imperial court's nobility, even high-ranking officials rarely secured his services. His presence at the Ho residence stemmed solely from my father's act of saving his life during his days as an imperial merchant. I turned to Lu Qingran. Eat up. I had these stewed early this morning, they're exceptionally nourishing for lactation. Dr. Chen chimed in from the side. Indeed, this wild ginseng is a rare treat. Even wet nurses for the imperial princes and princesses might not get to taste it. Pei Yan hadn't anticipated my thorough preparation and was momentarily at a loss for words. Lu Qingran gritted her teeth. Though unwilling, she had no choice but to step forward and lift the large bowl before her. She stared down at the greasy pork knuckle soup in the bowl, her brows furrowing into a deep frown. She looked at Pei Yan with obvious distress. With Physician Chen present as an outsider, Pei Yan could only pretend not to notice. I sneered inwardly, fixing my gaze on Pei Yan as I raised my voice. Your lordship, this wild ginseng costs 100 taels of silver per root. I've put an entire root into this soup. I've spared no effort to nourish Yao Zhu. If anyone dares to knock over this bowl of soup and cause my Yao Zhu to suffer from malnutrition, don't blame me for being ruthless, I'll beat them to death on the spot. With Physician Chen present today, I ask him to bear witness, lest anyone accuse me of having a cruel heart. My words crushed Lu Qingran's scheme to spill the soup. Dr. Chen chimed in enthusiastically. Who would dare say such a thing? Madam is the most generous soul I've ever met. Even the nobles in the palace wouldn't treat a wet nurse this well. If anyone dares to gossip, I'll speak for you, madam. Pei Yan frowned, unable to utter a word, his face twisted with frustration. Lu Qingran could only pick up the bowl and begin drinking, looking utterly aggrieved. But after just one sip, she spat it out. Why isn't there any salt? Her eyes welled with tears as she looked at Pei Yan. This servant knows the mistress looks down on me, but you can't treat me so cruelly. These are the finest ingredients, but how can one eat without seasoning? Your methods are truly cruel. Just as Pei Yan was about to erupt, Physician Chen preempted him. Is this wet nurse not following protocol? Does she not know wet nurses must not eat seasoned food? This isn't just common knowledge among noble families, even ordinary folk know this. How did the Marquis's household find such a wet nurse? Could it be they were deceived? I personally supervised the preparation of this pig's trotter soup. Are you implying that both I and the lady conspired to harm a mere wet nurse? I've truly learned something new today. Upon returning to the palace, I shall recount this amusing tale of the Marquis's household to the noble ladies. Pei Yan's face flushed crimson with embarrassment. He shot Lu Qingran a fierce glare before hastily apologizing to Physician Chen. Please forgive me, Physician Chen. It was the servant's ignorance. I shall discipline her severely. Dr. Chen snorted coldly, offering no reply. Pei Yan could only bark at Lu Qingran. Hurry up and drink the soup. Resigned, Lu Qingran frowned and sipped the broth, each mouthful seeming to cost her a fortune. Her facial expressions were a study in agony. Watching this filled me with satisfaction. Normally, the pork knuckle soup would have its fat skimmed off, but I specifically ordered it not to be skimmed and to be stewed until extra thick and mushy. Now, without salt, the soup was thick and sticky. Taking a sip felt no different from eating lard, greasy enough to turn one's stomach. She wanted to be a wet nurse, didn't she? She wanted to eat well, didn't she? Then she should eat more. Lu Qingran vomited repeatedly while eating, taking nearly an hour to finish 2 bowls of the soup. When she finally finished, her face was deathly pale. Clutching Pei Yaozu, she ran back crying. Imperial physician Chen rolled his eyes. So delicate. What kind of wet nurse is she? More like she came to be the mistress. Pei Yan's expression flickered, but he forced himself to escort the physician out. Once alone, he fumed. Why must you pick on Qingran? She sold herself into this household, how pitiful is that? And she cares for your son wholeheartedly. Yet you still can't tolerate her? So all your previous gentleness and grace were just an act. I stared coldly at Pei Yan. Why do you think I can't tolerate her? Has she done anything to wrong me? Pei Yan's breath caught, and he turned his gaze away. Song Yao, I thought you were gentle and kind, different from others. I never imagined you'd be such a petty, resentful woman trapped in this mansion. I misjudged you. With that, he turned and walked away. I replied calmly, henceforth, all meals for Lu Qingran will be prepared according to Physician Chen's instructions. I hope my lord will refrain from interfering, lest Physician Chen feel his medical skills are doubted and, in his displeasure, say something unfavorable about you before the noble lady. Pei Yan's footsteps halted abruptly. His body trembled, clearly seething with anger. Do as you please. After Pei Yan departed, I followed with Suiyun. Judging by his route, he was clearly heading to the west wing to comfort Lu Qingran. Suiyun and I hid by the window once more, listening to their conversation. Lu Qingran wept like a pear blossom drenched in rain, while Pei Yan held her close, soothing her. My dear Pei, I can't bear to live like this. Pei Yan's voice was cold and menacing. Rest assured, I will avenge you. But we must not rush things. We'll endure a few more years. From now on, I won't spend the night in Song Yao's quarters. I'll make her sleep alone, teaching her a lesson. When she can't take it anymore and comes begging me, I'll make her kneel and apologize to you. Hearing this, the corners of my mouth lifted. Where did his confidence come from? Lu Qingran looked aggrieved. Then do I still have to eat those things? You must still eat them. Physician Chen's medical skill is exceptional. He said that although these things are unpleasant, wet nurses truly do eat such fare. You must care for Yaozu, your milk supply cannot be interrupted. Pei Yan murmured soothingly. It's all for our child. Rest assured, in a couple days, I'll have Song Yao find 2 more wet nurses to assist you. Then you can direct them in caring for Yaozhu while you get proper rest. Hearing Pei Yan's words, Lu Qingran finally looked satisfied. Soon after, the two began whispering sweet nothings, their breathing growing heavy. Suiyun was furious, grinding her teeth in anger. She cursed all the way back. I, however, remained calm. Miss, aren't you angry? With the Marquis acting like this, we might as well divorce. Let's distance ourselves from these adulterous scoundrels. Suiyun spat angrily. I smiled. Divorce? Impossible. I won't let those ingrateful dogs off easy. I'll make them wish they were dead. My child didn't die in vain. These two will pay. The real show has only just begun. Since Pei Yan wants extra wet nurses, I'll kindly select 2 obedient, useful ones for him. Then Lu Qingran will truly have nothing to do. For 10 consecutive days, Pei Yan didn't come to my courtyard, not even sharing meals with me. He claimed to be too busy handling official duties. But every night after the moon climbed high, he would sneak off to see Lu Qingran. I knew he was waiting for me to beg him, but I didn't care. Instead, I slept better and ate more heartily. Even Suiyun remarked that I looked radiant lately. In stark contrast to my situation, Pei Yan and Lu Qingran grew increasingly haggard. Raising a child was no easy task. Pei Yaozu's midnight wails and the need to feed him every 2 hours were enough to push them to the brink. So before I could go plead with them, Pei Yan couldn't hold back any longer and came to me first. When Pei Yan arrived, I was having lunch. He strode over, sat down, and looked down on me as he spoke. Have you learned your lesson? I said nothing, only ate faster. Before he could say anything more revolting, I needed to fill my stomach, lest I lose my appetite later. I forgive you. Qingran forgives you too. Qingran doesn't hold it against you because she's kind-hearted. You can't be so inconsiderate, at least show some gratitude. Qingran is truly exhausted caring for Yaozhu alone. She can't manage everything by herself. Go hire 2 more wet nurses to assist her. I'm helping you make amends. You should be grateful. I've been too lenient with you in the past. Don't be so willful and reckless anymore. After more nagging, Pei Yan graciously granted me face by joining me for lunch before leaving. Once he departed, Sueyin spat several times at his retreating back. I set down my chopsticks. Sueyin, have you found the people you were looking for? Sueyin nodded. Rest assured, miss. With a hefty sum paid, that madam worked swiftly and found several candidates matching your requirements. I smiled faintly. Then bring them back to the estate. Back when Pei Yan deceived me, I still believed some men were good. But now I know, no man can resist straying. Wives are inferior to concubines, and concubines are inferior to secret affairs. Lu Qingran was his favorite, but I didn't believe he could resist straying. 2 stunning wet nurses were brought back to the mansion by Sueyin and sent straight to Lu Qingran's chambers. Sueyin returned with a smile. Miss, you wouldn't believe it, the Marquis's eyes nearly popped out of his head when he saw those 2 wet nurses. Lu Qingran's face turned green instantly. She looked at the Marquis with teary eyes, all hurt, even demanding he send the wet nurses away. I did as you instructed, miss, explaining both wet nurses were recommended by physician Chen. They'd cared for imperial princes and princesses before. Sending them away would surely offend important people. The Marquis even scolded Lu Qingran, saying she was being unreasonable. Listening to Sueyin's rambling, I snorted coldly inside. Men really do fall for that kind of thing. Especially Pei Yan these days. Lu Qingran had just given birth not long ago. Her belly must be as loose and flabby as mine, utterly hideous. If Lu Qingran wanted to keep Pei Yan's heart, she absolutely couldn't let him see her looking so hideous. So Pei Yan must have been holding back all this time. Now that these 2 stunning wet nurses had appeared, how could he possibly resist? Especially since the wet nurses I'd found weren't ordinary ones, they were highly skilled. Having learned business from my father, I've also uncovered many secrets of the high and mighty. Many decadent noble families kept Yangzhou beauties as concubines while also training wet nurses. These wet nurses possessed wasp waists, honeyed hips, and milky white skin, with abundant milk. But their milk wasn't meant for infants, it was reserved for the consumption of the wealthy and powerful. They say breast milk is the essence of human nourishment, the ultimate tonic, which is why it's so coveted by the elite. Of course, these wet nurses possess more than just milk, they also master a special skill, serving men. Trained to their core, each one knows how to handle a man with effortless ease. Now I only hope Lu Qingran isn't too fragile, easily outmaneuvered by these wet nurses. I paid little attention to what transpired in the West Wing, focusing solely on restoring my own health, though Sueyin kept a constant watch. Barely 3 days after the wet nurses entered the estate, Lu Qingran forbade Pei Yan from visiting Pei Yaozhu. Her excuse was that a man must prioritize his career over sentimental attachments. Truthfully, she feared Pei Yan might become entangled with those 2 wet nurses. After all, men only truly settle down when they're in the coffin. Those 2 wet nurses were carefully selected. How could the current Lu Qingran compare? The outcome matched my prediction. Pei Yan couldn't resist. Despite Lu Qingran's objections, he visited Pei Yaozhu 2 or 3 times a day, rain or shine. He'd even feigned concern about Pei Yaozhu's condition to chat and laugh with the 2 wet nurses, infuriating Lu Qingran until her face turned purple. Sueyin also mentioned that when Pei Yan was away, Lu Qingran had even struck the 2 wet nurses. Miss, should we go support the 2 wet nurses? Lu Qingran is getting too bold. I fear they won't dare stand up to her. Sueyin added with genuine concern. I remained calm, waving her off. Those wet nurses weren't ordinary women, they'd handle it. Sure enough, the next day Sueyin returned excitedly. She told me that when Pei Yan saw the wet nurse's distressed state, he flew into a rage at Lu Qingran. The 2 parted on bad terms. This outcome surprised me not at all. Men are always chasing the new and discarding the old. But it suited me perfectly. Now was the time to close the net. The fish would soon walk right into it. About 5 days later, Lu Qingran came to my courtyard herself, carrying Pei Yaozhu, to seek an audience with me. Madam, as an outsider, I shouldn't meddle, but men always crave something new. Those two new wet nurses don't seem trustworthy. Every time the Marquis visits the young master, they fawn over him. I'm worried about you, madam, so I came to tell you. Please think carefully. As she spoke, Lu Qingran studied my expression. I chuckled inwardly, yet my face remained etched with sorrow. Since giving birth, the Marquis has shown no desire to share my bed. What can I do? If it pleases him, I cannot stand in the way. Having Yaozhu is enough for me. Lu Qingran gritted her teeth, her gaze brimming with contempt and disdain. Yet, determined to achieve her goal, she forced herself to continue patiently. Madam, you mustn't speak like that. You are the lady of the Marquis's household. You cannot let these lowly maidservants get above themselves. As the Marquis's wife, having Yaozhu is all I need. I hope his lordship will be considerate and avoid producing any illegitimate sons. That would only jeopardize Yaozhu's standing. Beyond that, I ask for nothing. My words left Lu Qingran looking extremely displeased. Clearly, she hadn't considered this angle before. If the Marquis's household were to have several illegitimate sons, it would undoubtedly threaten Pei Yaozhu's position. Seeing me so unambitious, she was furious inside, yet utterly powerless. I waved my hand to cut off Lu Qingran's further pleas. You may leave now. Just take good care of Yaozhu. As long as the Marquis is pleased, that's all that matters. Gritting her teeth, Lu Qingran had no choice but to retreat. I could still faintly hear her muttering curses at me after she turned away. Useless fool! No wonder you've fallen so low, you deserve it. I closed my eyes, feigning sleep, pretending not to hear. Lu Qingran seemed to lose interest, quickening her pace to leave. But just as she reached the doorway, she collided with Suiyun rushing in. A medicine pouch slipped from Suiyun's sleeve. Her face flushed with panic as she snatched it back, then rushed inside without another thought. Lu Qingran's expression turned thoughtful. She paused slightly, then carefully hid herself around the corner, clearly intending to eavesdrop. Seeing this, I let a smirk touch my lips. The bait was cast. Suiyun entered and immediately said, Miss, this medicine was personally prescribed by Physician Chen. Once stewed, have the Marquis drink it. Tell him it's a tonic, he won't suspect a thing. Once a man consumes it, he'll become permanently infertile, without affecting his health. Suiyun spoke softly. I noticed Lu Qingran around the corner craning her neck, listening intently. I played along, saying, Suiyun, after thinking it over, I've changed my mind. If the Marquis wants more children, let him have them. Throw this medicine away. It's better not to commit such a grave sin. Even if he has illegitimate sons, they won't surpass Yaozhu. At worst, we'll just divide some wealth among them. As long as the Marquis is content, that's all that matters. Dispose of the medicine now. If the Marquis discovers it, it could strain our marital bond. Suiyun hesitated, then sighed, this servant understands. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Lu Qingran slip out of the courtyard, her face twisted with resentment. Suiyun followed the plan, taking the medicine and withdrawing immediately. After a stick of incense burned, Suiyun returned cheerfully and gave me a nod. I drew a deep breath. I knew I had succeeded. Now, all that remained was to wait patiently. Sure enough, early the next morning, a scribe from Pei Yan's entourage hurried into my courtyard. Madam! It's terrible! The Marquis has suffered a stroke. My heart leapt with joy, the plan had succeeded. When I reached Pei Yan's study, chaos reigned. Lu Qingran stood pale-faced nearby, clearly terrified and distraught. Pei Yan had been carried onto a soft couch by servants. I approached to look. His mouth hung askew, his hands curled, his entire body unconscious. Soon after, Imperial Physician Chen arrived. He took Pei Yan's pulse and prescribed some medicine. The Marquis has indeed suffered a stroke. He will be unable to speak and will be completely paralyzed, confined to bed for the rest of his life. A man in the prime of his life should not suffer a stroke. It must be that he consumed some aphrodisiac, causing his qi and blood to reverse their flow, leading to this outcome. He must take this medicine consistently. There might still be a chance. Upon hearing Physician Chen's words, murmurs rippled through the crowd. Lu Qingran's face paled further. She glanced at the broken bowl at her feet, soaked in medicinal liquid, then looked at me. At that moment, she fully realized she had fallen into my trap. I instructed Suiyun to go prepare the medicine and thanked Physician Chen. Before departing, Physician Chen sighed, "I have repaid the debt of saving your father's life. From now on, you must take care of yourself." I nodded and bowed deeply to the physician. For my sake, the old gentleman had broken a doctor's code for the first time, and I felt deeply indebted. Pei Yan was a deeply calculating man, wary of both me and those around me. He would certainly never touch any food I sent him. But Lu Qingran was different. She had no guard up, so I exploited her. Of course, there was no actual medicine that could cause a stroke instantly. It was merely a combination of anesthetics and heart palpitation-inducing drugs. These drugs only lasted 3 hours, and Pei Yan would regain consciousness after that time. But now that Pei Yan had suffered a stroke, everything in the mansion was under my control. The servants attending Pei Yan had all been replaced with my own people. I instructed them to administer the medicine to Pei Yan every 3 hours. I intend to make Pei Yan suffer, unable to live or die. After handling Pei Yan's affairs, Suiyun came to report, Lu Qingran secretly fled. "I've sent someone to follow her. Shall we eliminate her?" The scout scent has keen senses. He overheard her muttering something about preserving the green hills to ensure firewood never runs out and a gentleman's revenge can wait a decade. This Lu Qingran is clever, she knows I'd silence witnesses, so she fled first. From her words, it seems she's still not resigned to her fate. Did she take Pei Yaozhu with her? Suiyun shook her head. No, she left alone. I smiled faintly. She's playing the long game, dreaming of reappearing to claim kinship after Pei Yaozhu inherits the estate. Leave her be. Let her wallow in her illusions. The slow, grinding shattering of those dreams is the most torturous torment. Send Pei Yaozhu to the villa outside the city to recuperate. I don't want to see him. Tell them I'm focused on caring for the Marquis and have no time for Pei Yaozhu. Assign extra servants to attend to him, treat him with the respect due a young master. Whether he studies diligently or not, it's none of our concern. Keep an eye on Lu Qingran. If she goes to the villa disguised as a servant, don't expose her. Suiyun nodded. This servant understands. Didn't Lu Qingran say revenge is a dish best served cold? Then I'll give her 10 years. Let her dream for another decade. I look forward to seeing the look on her face when those 10 years of sweet dreams shatter. Pei Yaozhu truly is the offspring of Pei Yan and Lu Qingran. Even without being taught, he's learned to be an arrogant, spoiled brat. At 5, he'd already been beating and berating servants. By 8, he knew how to prey on maidservants. I'd reprimanded him several times and forbade any young maidservants from attending at the villa. When Pei Yaozhu was 2, Lu Qingran entered the villa under a false name, serving at his side. Whenever I visited, Lu Qingran would secretly hide away. She thought I didn't know, but in truth, I saw every move she made. By the age of 7, Lu Qingran had privately acknowledged her relationship with Pei Yaozhu. However, Pei Yaozhu did not acknowledge her, considering her status too lowly. Yet, because Lu Qingran had cared for him for years, he did not drive her away. I secretly visited the villa several times, never once disturbing them. On more than one occasion, I overheard them gossiping about me behind my back. That bitch Song Yao forbids me from returning to the manor, how utterly vicious. Once I come of age and inherit the vast family fortune, I'll drive Song Yao out of the Marquis' estate. I'll make her beg on the streets, make her kneel and beg for mercy. Whenever Pei Yaozhu slandered me, Lu Qingran would fan the flames, my son speaks wisely. But bear with it a little longer. You're already 7 now. Wait a few more years until you come of age, and then you can avenge this humiliation and help your father and me take revenge. Pei Yaozhu snapped back at Lu Qingran without a shred of politeness. Don't ever say I'm your son again. Your status is lowly. Lu Qingran paid no heed, nodding with a smile, whatever my son says goes. I ask for nothing more than to see that lowly Song Yao dead. Her whole being seemed electrified when she spoke of killing me. I didn't shatter their delusions, merely leaving silently. Just after Pei Yaozu's 10th birthday, a letter arrived from the villa. He wrote that he intended to return to fulfill filial duties to me and Pei Yan. He also stated that with no head of the Marquisate household, having reached 10 years of age, he could inherit the Marquis title. He had already petitioned the court and would return shortly to assume the title, offering to share the burdens of managing affairs. I burned the letter, a bitter laugh rising in my chest. Though this Pei Yaozhu was a spoiled, vicious scoundrel, he wasn't stupid. He actually thought to use inheriting the title as a ploy, and had even acted first and reported later. Barely 2 days after the letter arrived, Pei Yaozhu returned to the Marquisate with his entourage. Lu Qingran, seemingly emboldened by his presence, didn't even bother to avoid me. She followed right behind Pei Yaozhu, acting as if she owned the place. When she caught my gaze, she flashed me a smug smile. "Long time no see, madam. I hope you've been well." I remained silent, my gaze fixed on Pei Yaozhu. At just 10 years old, Pei Yaozhu was already nearly my height. He chuckled lightly. "Aunt Lu has cared for me for many years. Mother should express her gratitude to her. Mother and Aunt Lu are adversaries better reconciled than at odds. From now on, Aunt Lu will reside in the Marquis's residence." His protective stance was unmistakable. I smiled. Pei Yaozhu truly resembled Pei Yan. Bolstered by Pei Yaozhu's support, Lu Qingran's confidence soared. She slowly approached me. "Madam, fortune favors the bold. You needn't wait 30 years, I've returned in just 10. I know you're angry, madam, but you'll have to swallow your pride. Pei Yan adores me, and Yaozhu respects me. The two most important men in your life belong to me. Yaozhu has already promised me, once the memorial to the Ministry of Rights for inheriting the title is approved, he'll send you to the villa to live out your days. You have only one son, Yaozhu, and your vast fortune can only be inherited by him. Accept your fate, ha 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 ha." Lu Qingran laughed with triumphant glee. I turned to Pei Yaozhu again. "Is that how you see it too?" Pei Yaozhu stepped forward beside Lu Qingran and addressed me. "Mother has cared for father for so many years. It's time for her to rest. Your son will visit you often at the villa." Standing side by side, their faces before me, I felt Pei Yaozhu bore a stronger resemblance to Lu Qingran. I didn't feel anger, only a sigh. "Pei Yaozhu," I said, "even if you beat Lu Qingran to death today, I will still acknowledge you as my son." Hearing this, Lu Qingran burst into laughter as if she'd heard the world's greatest joke. "Song Yao, have you lost your mind? How could you utter such ridiculous words? You've lost, you know? The loser must accept their fate." Pei Yaozhu frowned. "Mother, watch your words. Don't spread rumors." I chuckled softly. "Pei Yaozhu, I know you're the child of Pei Yan and Lu Qingran. I also know my own child died at birth. Even if you killed Lu Qingran now, I would still acknowledge you as my son." Seemingly caught off guard by my knowledge of the truth, both of them froze momentarily. But in an instant, they regained their composure. Lu Qingran grew even more excited and smug. "Song Yao, you're just a cornered dog now, aren't you? So what if you know all this? What proof do you have?" Pei Yaozhu remained silent, letting Lu Qingran continue her rant. "You've lived in agony all these years, haven't you? Knowing full well you were raising my son, yet forced to endure it. How satisfying. Now kneel and kowtow to me, and I'll let Yaozhu spare you enough food to survive." Watching the smug mother and son, I knew it was time to send them to hell. I clapped my hands, and a group entered from outside. Pei Yaozhu and Lu Qingran froze, both turning to look at the newcomers. Leading the way was the Ho family's former steward, Sun. Behind him was a middle-aged woman, followed by Pei Yan's personal page. The three knelt before me the moment they entered. Seeing them, Lu Qingran's expression shifted. Though Pei Yaozhu didn't grasp the situation, a sense of foreboding crept over him. I turned to Pei Yaozhu, pointing at Sun the steward. "Yaozhu, allow me to introduce you. This is Sun the steward, the man who, following your father's orders, brought you back and drowned my son." I then pointed at the middle-aged woman. "This is midwife Liang. She delivered Lu Qingran. She remembers every birthmark on your body. I pointed at the page boy once more. This is the page boy who served your father. He knows exactly when Lu Qingran met your father, when she became pregnant, and when she gave birth. With these 3 witnesses, I have both eyewitness accounts and physical evidence. Pei Yaoshu's expression shifted before he spoke. So what if it proves I'm the son of Aunt Lu and my father? Even if my mother was a concubine, I'm still my father's son. I can still inherit the title. Lu Qingran flinched, then regained her composure. Her spirit lifted once more. My son speaks well. I smiled and pulled a contract of indenture from my sleeve. The moment Lu Qingran saw the contract in my hand, her face drained of color. Pei Yaoshu, your mother Lu Qingran is of lowly birth. Therefore, she is not only a concubine but also of base lineage. I waved the contract before Pei Yaoshu. How could a child born to such lowly stock ever inherit a noble title? I have already selected a child from the Pei clan. Soon, he will be formally adopted into my household. He shall inherit the title. Lu Qingran lunged forward to snatch the contract, but before she could reach it, Pei Yan blocked her path. Pei Yaoshu's face twisted with terror. No! No! Mother, you can't do this. You can't do this. The title must be mine. It must be mine. My mother isn't Lu Qingran. She's just a concubine. Just a lowly servant. How could she be my mother? Mother, you are my true mother. You've suffered all these years. I'll kill Lu Qingran for you. That vile concubine dared to drive a wedge between us. Her crime is unforgivable. Pei Yaoshu swiftly devised a plan. He dashed to the corridor, grabbed a wooden stick, and charged at Lu Qingran lying on the ground. Lu Qingran's face drained of color as she stared blankly at the descending stick. Pei Yaoshu held nothing back, raining blows down like hail. Pain-stricken, Lu Qingran screamed, "Yaoshu, I'm your mother. I'm your mother." These words clearly provoked Pei Yaoshu further. He roared, "Shut your mouth, you worthless servant. How dare you spout such nonsense?" His blows grew even more savage. At first, Lu Qingran could still scream, but gradually her strength faded. Soon, she lay in a pool of blood, her body mangled beyond recognition, clearly dead. Pei Yaoshu tossed aside the stick, wiped the blood from his hands, and approached me with a fawning expression. "Mother, I've avenged you. Did you see? I avenged you." Before he could reach me, 2 guards stepped forward to block him. According to the laws of Great Liang, a son who kills his mother shall be punished by death. Notify the prefect. I pressed a handkerchief to my nose, unwilling to breathe in the stench of blood. Pei Yaoshu had completely broken down. Ignoring the guard's restraint, he still tried to grab me. "Mother, mother. Look at me. I truly am your son. I truly am your son." At my signal, the guards dragged Pei Yaoshu away. Pei Yaoshu's defiant cries faded into the distance. I turned and pushed aside the screen standing behind me. Beyond the screen lay Pei Yan, collapsed on a soft couch. After a decade of repeated comas, he was now in a semi-delirious state. His emaciated form lay sprawled on the couch. Today, no medicine had been administered, so he was lucid. Yet he possessed no strength left to rise. His gaze fixed on Lu Qingran, who lay in a pool of blood in the distance. Fear began to cloud his eyes. "See? This is your son's handiwork. He has perfectly inherited your greed and cruelty, and Lu Qingran's. This is your retribution." As Pei Yan heard my words, the terror in his eyes spread across his entire face. You're a demon. You're a demon." I smiled. "Correct. I am a demon you created with your own hands. You'd better live well, live 100 years, and watch this demon of mine torment you." Pei Yan tried to rise in terror, seeking help, but Pei Yan stepped forward, scooped up a bowl of medicinal broth, and forced it down his throat. I walked out slowly, leaving behind Pei Yan's terrified, agonized whimpers. The sound was music to my ears. How sweet it sounded. The end.